Welcome to the Exotic Pet Collective. My name is Richard. Thank you so much for joining me today. But first, I want to thank the sponsor of today's podcast. They're definitely friends of the Exotic Pet Collective. They're also huge supporters of my YouTube channel, the Tarantula Collective, and just all around good people. And I'm talking about tarantulacribs.com. If you want an amazing enclosure to really show off your favorite species of tarantula, I highly suggest you check out tarantulacribs.com. They have high-end acrylic enclosures with magnetic locking doors that are all the rage in the community right now. But they're not just for tarantulas. You can keep true spiders, isopods, or pretty much any pet invert that you may have. They're very popular. They're selling out very quick. But if you go to their website and they have some enclosures in stock, use the code TCollective10 at checkout. It'll get you 10% off your entire order. I use their enclosures a lot. I'm a huge fan of them, and I highly recommend them. So I want to start off the podcast today essentially just apologizing because I haven't been uploading these episodes very regularly. And there are a few different reasons for that. One, just some of the guests that I've had scheduled for one reason or the other. Sometimes it's my fault, sometimes it's their fault, but our schedules just haven't really been aligning to where we are able to sit down for an hour or two and actually record a conversation. So I've had to keep juggling things and moving things around, which is why today I am flying solo. But the other reason is, well, there's actually two more reasons. The one, I'm having some serious computer issues. I've had this computer since I started the YouTube channel, and it's served me really well for a few years, but it's just old. It doesn't have a whole lot of RAM and some other kind of areas that it's lacking. And it's more than capable to handle recording and editing and publishing these podcasts. But the issue is that the YouTube channel is my number one priority, and sometimes it's taking hours and hours for it to render videos and to edit, and just everything's slowed down a lot. And part of that is because I've been using different cameras or essentially filming at, much higher frame rates and bit rates. And, really, I'm trying to transition from putting out videos in 1080p and kind of upgrading everything to 4K. And my computer just can't handle that footage. So it's really slowed my process down. I've had to order a new computer. Now I'm getting one custom built by this company out in Utah, and it won't be here until like mid-June. So until that computer comes, just my whole workflow is severely handicapped. It's really slowed down, and I've got to make the YouTube videos a priority because that's what's paying my bills right now. The podcasts are fun. I love this platform, and I really appreciate all you guys that are listening. But even with a sponsor, it doesn't make enough to pay my power bill every month, let alone my mortgage and all the other expenses I have. So the YouTube videos, I got to get 2 of those out a week. So that's my priority. Continuing to work on the website and kind of build that out, and all the other social media platforms that I'm on. It just kind of feels like a podcast is more just something that I enjoy doing, and it's kind of fallen a few levels down as far as priorities. But I'm really going to try and focus and get these once the new computer's in, it'll be back to every week. But between now and then, I'm going to try to put out a new podcast every week, but I can't promise. And the reason that I can't promise that is the third and final reason, or fourth reason. I don't even know where I'm up to now, but personally, and this is just between you and me, it's not something I'm like posting publicly other than mentioning in this podcast. But I've got like over 72,000 subscribers on YouTube. Podcast, I think maybe 1,000 or 2,000 people listen to it. Sometimes it's less than 1,000. So you guys are like the elite supporters. You're the hardcore. And I don't mind telling you guys this, I guess is what I'm saying. But I'm having some health issues. Like my liver is just screwed up from years of hedonistic lifestyles. And about 6 years ago, I stopped all that partying, but I guess the damage was done. And it's been in back and forth with doctors trying to even figure out what is wrong with me. And last year, finally got a good doctor, and he figured it out and said, I got to send you to a specialist and we'll get this taken care of. But then COVID hit and everything just like slowed to a crawl. And, it took months to get in to see the specialist, and then he had to run tests, and then it took months to get another appointment so we could talk about the results of those tests and treatment plans and all that kind of stuff. And finally, like a month or so ago, I got a complete diagnosis and prescriptions to get everything taken care of. And now it's just back and forth between the pharmacy and the insurance company and my doctor or the specialist, I guess, because he'll prescribe something. My insurance company will be like, no, it's too expensive. We're not going to cover that. So he'll go, I mean, he prescribed like the most recent, newest, most powerful treatment. And they're like, no. So he took it down to, the second newest treatment or whatever. And they were like, yeah, no, that's still too expensive. So finally, he prescribed a medication that they're like, yeah, we'll pay for that. And the issue was my pharmacy that I had been using was like, yeah, we don't carry that because it has to be like an online pharmacy for some reason. So they had to transfer me to a different pharmacy that I've never used, and finally got all of my information moved over to them, insurance and everything, and I got everything worked out. And I talked to them on the phone on Monday, and they were like, "We got you taken care of. We ran your insurance. There's no copay. We'll get it in the mail Tuesday. You'll have it by Wednesday, and you can start." And I was like, "Awesome! I'm going to start feeling better finally." I mean, it's like months of medication, but at the end, I'll be all good, hopefully. And so that was the plan. They called me Tuesday morning, and I thought they were going to like confirm the shipping address or something like that, or just let me know it's in the mail. And what they said was, "We don't have a credit card on file for you, and your copay is going to be about $8,000." And I'm like, "I have insurance. That's ridiculous." And they're like, "Yeah, insurance covering about 70% of the price." And I'm like, "Oh, you told me yesterday I didn't have a copay." So now I got to like figure out some, I don't know, some other kind of secondary insurance or prescription plan or something. So I guess 8,000 is a lot for some drugs. So I'm working on that right now. So that's kind of held that up. So between now and then, I'm just kind of at the mercy of my body. Sometimes I'm just extremely tired or in pain, or I'm not going to get all the details there, but it just makes it very difficult sometimes to get more than the bare minimum done. So hopefully once finally have some medicine, I'll start feeling better, and that one will no longer be an issue. Back to like 100%. But I digress. That's enough about me. What I want to talk about today is this pattern that seems to be emerging. Like it's always been there, but it seems like maybe the past 6 months or so, it's maybe just since COVID. I guess everybody's kind of been losing their mind since the lockdown and everything. So I'm hoping that's all that it is. But there seems to be this unrealistic expectation that people have when they're ordering tarantulas or isopods or pretty much any pet invert online. And some of it I think is just due to like just wrong assumptions or miscommunication, or sometimes I think people just get upset and instead of being maybe a little understanding and compassionate, they're very quick these days to just grab the torches and pitchforks and demand blood. So today, I just want to talk about some unrealistic expectations that people have, and if you are suffering from these, stop. Hopefully this will kind of open your eyes and give you some more healthy expectations. First, I mean, and I understand why people get confused. You go online, you find a couple tarantula species you like from this dealer's website. You're checking out. You get to shipping, and you got to go FedEx overnight. And that could be anywhere from 35 to 55, $60, depending on who it is you're going through. Now, the reason they have to ship FedEx overnight, it's actually two reasons. First, they're concerned about the safety and well-being of the tarantulas. You want to keep the tarantula in the mail for the least amount of time as possible. When they ship FedEx overnight, they can drop them off at the FedEx hub like 6, 7 o'clock at night, right before they close, and they get shipped out to, I believe it's Memphis is the overnight hub, and they get on a plane and they get flown to wherever you live in the country and are at your door by like 9:30, 10:30 the next morning. So they're only in the mail about 15 or 16 hours. And that's from the moment they leave the dealer to the moment they're on your doorstep. So in the grand scheme of things, it's a very short amount of time tarantulas are actually in the mail. Now, there are some dealers that do offer like USPS 2 to 3 day priority mail. And I mean, one, that's just not cool because the postal service is like, you can't ship venomous animals. So if they were to find out about that, there could be definitely could be some fines, at least against the person shipping it. I don't know about the person receiving it, but it also is, 2 to 3 days in the mail. It's 2 to 3 times as long, more. It's like 4 times as long as, it would be in the mail if you were doing FedEx overnight. And also when you're shipping that way, there's a lot more of a chance that package is going to get, lost or be delayed, not to mention just like left in the back of trucks or in warehouses where there aren't climate controlled, and they're just getting tossed around and kicked around a lot more, and it's a lot more stressful for the tarantulas. And that's why anybody that offers the 2 to 3 day priority doesn't offer a live arrival guarantee with it, because they know there's a pretty good chance they're not going to survive. At least a good enough chance that it's not profitable for them to ensure that. But anybody that's shipping FedEx overnight does offer a live arrival guarantee. You'll also see it referred to as a lag, LAG, and that's definitely something you want to look into. But that's also the source of a lot of the animosity and confusion and negativity online. Because there's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration when tarantulas are being shipped. They got to look. The dealer's got to look at. And I'm not a dealer. No, so I'm not like defending myself or my business. I don't sell tarantulas, and I don't want to sell tarantulas mainly because of stuff like this. But it's a lot of work. They got to look at the weather where they are. They got to look at the weather at the Memphis overnight hub. It's like wherever the big airport is, where all the overnight shipments are processed through. And then they got to look at the weather where that's going to be delivered, like where you are. And they have to make sure that the temperatures are all within an acceptable range. It's not too hot or too cold. Even using heat packs or cool packs to kind of help regulate the temperature inside of the box, there's still limitations to that. So if it's below a certain, degree, then it's going to be too cold for them to ship, even with a heat pack. They don't want to put the tarantulas at risk. And it's the opposite in the summer. Even with a cold pack, it could be too hot for that cold pack to keep the temperature inside the box at a range, that's optimal for the tarantulas to survive. But it's not just temperatures they have to take into consideration. They also have to look for storms that could delay shipment. If there's like a huge ice storm or snowstorm or a hurricane or tornadoes or just serious weather, either in Memphis at the hub that could delay flights or have flights canceled for the night, or wherever the business is or where you're shipping. If there's anything that could delay that shipping, any like severe weather, that's it's got to be pretty severe. But they do have to take that into consideration. So it is possible that you're going to order a tarantula and expect it one day, and then they have to not ship it because there's a snowstorm moving through or a hurricane's coming up the coast or something, and it could severely. I mean, it's not even weather. I mean, there's fires, flooding. There's all kind of things, natural disasters, or even man-made disasters that can delay shipment, and they have to take that in consideration. And every vendor is going to have a slightly different live arrival guarantee. It's not really standardized across the whole space yet. So anytime you order tarantulas, you really need to look into who you're getting it from and what their live arrival guarantee is. You got to read that shipping policy. It's very important because not everybody's the same. Some places you've got 24 hours from receiving your shipment to contact them if you have any problems with your species. For instance, a DOA, which is dead on arrival, meaning that they shipped you a live tarantula and in the process of shipping, for whatever reason, it died. So when you received it, it was dead or near death. You can contact them, let them know. Most times they'll either give you a refund or they'll, send a replacement. Usually though, it's on your next order, they'll include a replacement or they'll give you a store credit. It's a little unreasonable. I mean, I understand why people expect it because they ordered the tarantula, they paid for shipping, and the tarantula ended up, arriving dead. But shipping is expensive. Overnight shipping, like I said, is anywhere between $35 to $60. And when you got like a $10 tarantula or a freebie that ends up arriving dead, it's a little unrealistic to expect them to immediately pay that $60, or we'll just say 50. We'll make it easy. We'll pay that $50 to send you a $10 tarantula or a free tarantula. It just doesn't make good business sense. They'll go out of business quick doing that. So that's why they usually just offer store credit or offer, to throw that replacement species in with your next order. But that's not a universal truth. Some places will work with you a little more, and some places are a lot more strict. Like, I think the most typical live arrival guarantee or policy that, a lot of these dealers have is within 2 hours of receiving shipment, you got to contact them and let them know of any problems. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I think mainly it's because, they are ensuring that this tarantula is going to survive the harrowing journey from like their place of business to your door. I mean, just running the gauntlet of overnight shipping and all the conveyor belts and, getting moved from trucks to planes and all that stuff. It can be a lot of stress on the tarantula, a lot of shaking and vibrating and getting moved around. So they want to make sure that when it arrives at your doorstep, it is alive. That's what they're ensuring. So if you wait 10 hours for that to open up the box, There's no telling what could have happened in that time frame. So as soon as you receive the package, you're going to want to open it up, pull out the heat pad or the cool pack or whatever's in there, pull out the little sling pots, open them up, just take a look. Even if you can't rehouse them right away, at least open them up and take a look. Make sure that they are moving and they look healthy. I think the reason that a lot of these places have a 2-hour window from receiving the package is because there's been a lot of instances, especially lately, where somebody will schedule delivery and they'll know that okay, it's going to be delivered on Tuesday, and then they go to work Tuesday morning. The package gets left at their doorstep at like 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. They're already gone, and they don't come home from work until like 5, 6 o'clock at night, and that package has just been sitting out in the elements, in direct sunlight, or in the bitter cold for the entire day. And then they bring it inside, they open it up, and their slings are dead, and they want a refund. And it's like, well, you just let them sit outside for 6 hours, exposed to the elements. Like you can't. That's on you. You're the one that killed those. They were. You can't prove that they were killed in shipment because you didn't open them up and verify that they were dead immediately. I've also seen people all upset because they didn't get a refund from whoever they were ordering tarantulas, and because they waited more than 2 hours to contact them, even though it specifically says in the shipping policy you've got a 2-hour window. And it turns out they picked up the package on their way to work. They stopped at the FedEx hub, signed for it, got it, put in the back of their car, went to work, and then just left them in their trunk or in their back seat for the entire day while they were at work. And that's even more dangerous, especially if it's a sunny day. It could get, the greenhouse effect inside there could really make the environment way too hot for a tarantula. Or if it's in the winter, it could be way too cold. Like it's dangerous to do that. And you're probably listening to this like, I would never do that. But you got to understand there's a lot of people that ordered their first tarantula online, or maybe they just haven't been doing it a lot. They've been mainly getting them from expos or pet stores or something. And they don't think about it. They're like, well, it's inside of an insulated environment with a hot pack or a cool pack, and it's going to be perfectly fine until I have the time to do it. But if you read the shipping policy, I mean, pretty much any dealer I'm aware of that I've ever ordered from, I read their shipping policy, and it's pretty straightforward. They tell you as soon as your box arrives, open it up. The tarantulas, it could be just it could be too cool in there, too warm in there, not enough air. Like it's just a good idea. It's they're only meant to be in that box for a very short amount of time. So as soon as you get them, even if you can't rehouse them right away because you're working or you're busy doing something else, you should at least open up the box, pull those slings out. I always like to take the vials and set them on their side, somewhere safe until I can actually rehouse them. And I've got a whole video about that. I ordering tarantulas online. I'll link that in the show notes down below if you're interested in getting diving a little bit more in depth in there. But the important thing is you read those shipping policies. I've dealt with some dealers that they actually require you not only to contact them within 2 hours, but they want you to send pictures to them of the dead slings. And I mean, I don't even know if it's still a thing, but I had one guy, he required that I stick a pin through the abdomen. So it was essentially proving that it's dead because I guess he was having issues with people saying the tarantula was dead when really it was just stressed out or it's just not moving or it was perfectly alive. It just was in a position that they were like, oh, it looks like it's dead. I'll take a picture and say it's dead and get some free tarantulas. The profit margin on selling tarantulas is very slim. And I know that there's this misconception out there that tarantulas are way overpriced and everybody's making a killing. But just speaking of the dealers that I know personally and interact with, like they're not rich people. They're not making a killing doing this. And it's actually one of those, I don't know. It's this like, it just seems that there's the return on investment, the ROI is quickly diminishing, So if you're just breeding 5 or 6 species and selling those, you're getting a pretty good return on your investment. You're making good money. But the larger your business grows, the more species you need to have in stock, so you can keep bringing back new customers because they're not going to want to rebuy the same tarantula they just got 6 months ago. You got to have something new for them. So the more you expand your inventory, the more mouths you got to feed, the more water dishes you got to fill up. It requires a lot more work just to maintain the stock, and not to mention keeping the website updated. And it can be too much for one person. So then I would say the majority of these tarantula dealers, like pretty much anywhere in the world, like nobody's a huge conglomerate like Amazon or Walmart, like it's usually one person or like a couple, maybe you got a husband and wife or something, or it could be a family business. I know there are a few that actually have employees that they pay, but that's usually because they're really large. They have a huge selection, and they got it takes a lot of time to build the boxes and insulate them, and track the temperatures, and schedule shipping dates and get everybody out of their enclosure into those little dram vials, and packed up for shipping, and double check that what you ordered is actually what's in the box, and get that mailed out, and then deal with customer service after the fact. Like, it's a lot. Most of these businesses, like I said, are just one or two people running them. It's like a side hustle. They've got a full-time 40-hour a week job, and they're just kind of doing this because they enjoy it, and because it generates a little bit of income to kind of help pay for their hobby. And sometimes that grows into a full-fledged business. But it also seems the more they grow, much higher their expenses get. They're importing species. They got a lot to take care of. And that's, to me, it just doesn't seem like a good business model. That's why I did not get into breeding tarantulas, because it seems the more successful you are, the less money potentially you could be making, having to, a lot more mouths to feed, and hire employees, and just all the stuff that comes along with that. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, that these people aren't getting rich. Like, I'm not. They're doing it because they love it. Is really what it comes down to. If you can do what you love and make enough money to pay your bills, I think that you're a much happier person than if working a job you hate, making twice as much money. At least, like, that's my philosophy. Like, I had a good job. I was working for a friend, and it paid well. It was easy work, but it wasn't. I wasn't passionate about it. I wasn't excited going to work. And the longer I worked there, the less excited I was showing up every day. It became to almost to resent it. Not so. I mean, not my boss, not the guy that owned the business, not even the work really. It was mainly some of the customers. I just got tired of dealing with them. But as I've said many times, I'm not a people person, and I started getting irritated with other humans pretty quickly. So that job wasn't perfect for me, and we tried, different, moving things around, and focusing on different stuff, and it just wasn't working. My passion is tarantulas, and also it turns out my passion is photography and videography, and when I could film tarantulas, like, it was just this earth shaking kind of groundbreaking moment for me, where I was like, I love doing this. This is awesome. And then I was able to make a little bit of money doing it, and it was like, if I could just make enough to pay my bills. And of course, I had to have a long conversation with my wife, and do the budget and all this kind of stuff, and figure out if that was even feasible. But it finally was like, this is what I love doing, and I'm able to make enough money off these ad revenue from these videos that I can do this full time. And despite it, also worked out because, like I mentioned earlier, I'm having some health issues, so sometimes it was hard sitting in an office for 9 hours a day. Like, I would just the issues I was having sometimes, just I'm not one to call in sick, so I would just go in immense pain and just be miserable the entire day. Working at home, like, if I need to lay down for a couple of minutes, and kind of just work through this pain or whatever the issue is I'm having, I can do that. And I don't have to worry about a customer coming in or something. I just kind of get behind on putting out content like podcasts. And so it's worked out a whole lot for me, as far as like my stress level, and taking care of myself and doing something that I love. And even though I'm not making nearly as much money as I was, I'm a lot happier and a lot healthier, and now have the ability to get even more healthy. So, there's a benefit that's not financial, that is much more important, I think, doing what you love. So, I'm making these videos not because it's, in podcasts, not because it's going to make me rich, but because I'm doing what I love. And these people that are selling tarantulas, they're not doing it because they're going to get rich. They're doing it because it's what they love to do, and they're able to work with tarantulas or scorpions, or whatever, snakes, geckos, whatever it is, and make a living. And that's what's important, just surviving. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. These are all mom and pop businesses, but more than that, these are all fellow hobbyists. These are people that love keeping tarantulas just as much as I do, just as much as you do. They're human beings. They're people with wives, and husbands, and girlfriends, and boyfriends, and kids, and mortgages, and rent, and bills. Like, they're not millionaires sitting in an office, just cashing checks and not giving a crap about the animals or the customers. It's not that situation. So that's why it kind of upsets me, I think, when I see somebody that's just online, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, just eviscerating this business. that they, they maybe is their first time doing business with them. They don't really know them or anything like that, or whatever the reason is. They're upset because they expected a package to be delivered on Monday, and it turns out it's not going to be there until the next week or something. I think a lot of people get confused because they're paying so much for overnight shipping. I mean, $50 for shipping is a lot, especially in this day and age where we're spoiled. I know I'm spoiled. I'll keep it on myself. I got, especially since COVID, I have been relying very heavily on online shopping. I mean, I already was a pretty big online shopper, but if I could avoid going to the store and dealing with people during this whole pandemic thing, I was definitely doing that. I was ordering everything online, and you get used to free shipping, especially going through Amazon. You get Prime shipping. It's free, and it's in your house. It's delivered in like 48 hours. So if you can order something online and not pay for shipping, and it's delivered in 48 hours, that creates this expectation, I believe. When people order online and they're paying $50 for overnight shipping, they think they read overnight, but in their mind, they think next day. And they get really upset if they place an order for a tarantula on a Monday and it's not on their doorstep on Tuesday. Then they start screaming that they got scammed and these people are a ripoff, and they just start saying some pretty nasty things, just trashing the business, leaving negative reviews. When really they just essentially just didn't read the shipping policy. They don't have an understanding of the difference between overnight shipping and next day shipping. Like that's on them. But it's definitely something to don't be a tarantula Karen, I guess is what I'm saying. Like if you're gonna buy tarantulas online, before you start complaining and trashing a small business, maybe do a little bit of research. Make sure that you completely understood the situation. I think that's the most important thing to point out, that overnight shipping, even at $50, does not mean next day shipping. In fact, I don't know anybody really. There's probably a few smaller businesses that do this, but I don't know many people that ship the order out the next day right after you order it. And actually, as I say that, I can recall hearing a few people that did have that experience, but it's usually it's very rare. And how they determine when they're going to ship it is different from each business. I know there's a few businesses that kind of just have like a template, like a format, where if you order on Monday, then your package is going to ship on Wednesday. If you order on Tuesday, it'll ship on Thursday. If you order Wednesday to Thursday, then it's going to ship the following Monday, and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday orders are shipped on the following Tuesday. And that's just kind of like how it is. So you place your order based on when you want to receive the shipment. But even at that, sometimes it's delayed a week, depending on, how busy they are, how many other orders they have to fill. But other places have a different approach. You place your order, they're going to look at the 10-day forecast as well as how many other orders there are ahead of you. And they'll send you an email and be like, hey, we're going to ship on this day. But then they need you to respond to that. Like it'll say in the email, please reply and confirm that this date works for you. And if you send them a reply, say, yeah, that works for me, then you're locked in, and you know that that's the day you're going to be receiving your shipment, as long as everything goes right, as far as like FedEx is concerned and stuff. But, I've seen a lot of people that they get that email, and they read it and like, yeah, okay, next Wednesday. Sounds great. But they don't reply. They don't respond. They don't tell the business that, yes, this is okay. And then that day comes and they didn't receive their package. And, the first thing they do is get on Facebook and start just trashing this. I took a day off work. I sat by the door all day waiting on this package and it never showed up. Finally get a hold of it and they said they didn't ship it. It's like, yeah, they didn't ship it because you didn't confirm that that was okay. You just read it and said, okay. And it's like, I understand why that's a common mistake. And more than, there's 3 or 4 businesses that I know right now that have that policy. They send you a day that they want to ship and you have to reply and confirm. Because if you don't reply and confirm, what I would assume is that you didn't read the email. They went into your junk box or you just haven't checked your email yet. So, they're not going to ship a live animal to you if they're not sure you're going to be there and able to accept. Some people may be out of town. They may be at work. There's a lot of reasons people can't accept a shipment on a certain day. So they're not going to ship it until they have that confirmation, especially if they're going to be, offering a live arrival guarantee. Like if I'm offering to cover the cost of anything negative or, bad happening in the shipment, then I want to make sure you're actually going to be there to receive the shipment. And it's not just about money. I mean, really, I think it's all about just the welfare of the tarantulas. They want to make sure they spend as little time as possible in the whole shipping process and in those boxes. So they want to make sure you're going to be there and ready to accept that shipment. So if you don't respond to these businesses when they ask for you to confirm the shipping date, then that's on you. Again, it's not a reason to go trashing these businesses. But that's not the only issue. I've seen people get really upset because they place an order and it's going to be like 2 or 3 weeks before it actually gets sent out. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It could be the weather, especially in the winter or in the dead of summer. Sometimes it's just way too hot or way too cold in your area for them to be able to safely ship those. And it's not a reason to get mad at the company. I mean, get mad at the seasons, I guess. And and I'm sure in those situations, if it's way too, they're just like it's going to be 2 or 3 weeks, and you're like, I'm not willing to wait. Then I'm sure they'll let you cancel. I don't know that for sure, but I would think so. I think any reasonable business would be like, we understand, we'll cancel for you. But like I've said in so many podcasts and videos, like the tarantula hobby, if it teaches you nothing else, it's going to teach you patience. Tarantulas take forever to molt. Some species take forever to grow. And just ordering and just that whole process of ordering tarantulas online it's going to teach you patience as well. So if you're not a patient person, maybe this isn't the hobby for you, or maybe it's the perfect hobby for you because it's going to teach you patience. And then patience is a good quality to have. So, you got to be patient when you're shipping or waiting for a shipment because, like I said, some people will ship it within a few days of your order. Others, it may be a few weeks. And, you just kind of got to roll with the punches, I guess. So when you take all of that into consideration, the different live arrival guarantees and shipping policies and just ways of doing business, it's understandable why there's so much confusion because it's not like a standardized thing throughout the entire industry. You don't have it may be easier if every dealer had the same shipping policy and the same live arrival guarantee. Like if it was just company wide or not company wide, but like hobby wide, industry wide. Like this was the gold standard and we're all going to do it. That would be awesome. Be a lot less confusing, but that's not the case. Everybody's got their own way of doing things. And, it seems the most popular one, it's kind of what a lot of people are adopting right now is the live arrival guarantee where you need to contact them within 2 hours of receiving the package to let them know of any problems and that the package is covered. So if they arrive to your doorstep and they're not alive or they're like really sick or injured, they will offer you store of credit or offer to, or replace those species with your next order. And what's really cool is what's kind of been changing lately with a lot of these businesses is that they're covering shipping delays. So for a long time, as long as I can remember, the live arrival guarantee only applied if it was delivered and received within that overnight. Because sometimes FedEx loses a package, or it gets shipped to the wrong place, or there's just delays at the hub. Like the engine of the plane was messed up, or there was a bad storm went through or something. And they weren't able to get it out overnight, so it spends a day or two longer in the mail. And in a lot of those cases, if it doesn't get delivered the next day, if it's not an official overnight package, it gets delayed by a day or two, the live arrival guarantee was void, not because of anything you did. It's because of, there was a shipping issue, but it didn't matter. They weren't going to cover it. So sometimes that was detrimental, to the tarantula, and people would receive boxes of dead species and have no recourse for a refund or anything like that. Even though that was the policy, I saw a lot of instances where the businesses were understanding and we're like, yeah, we know that our live arrival guarantee doesn't cover shipper delays, but we're going to go ahead and cover it anyways. But now shipping delays are covered. I know like Tarantulas and a few other businesses are sticking their neck out and are saying we're going to cover shipping delays as well. But again, that's not industry standard. So there's definitely dealers out there whose live arrival guarantee does not cover shipping delays, which is why, again, you need to read that shipping policy and of course the live arrival guarantee. It's important information. You got to read it. But even at that, I've seen most recently, oh man, at least in my own Facebook group, the Tarantula Collective Facebook group, I've seen 3 or 4 posts in the past month or so where somebody was really excited. They posted, "Hey, I just ordered some tarantulas from this business. I'm very excited. They're going to be here next week." And then they post a week later, they're posting pictures. "Oh, I just got these tarantulas in. There's a picture of the box and a picture of them unboxing. Sometimes they'll even make a little video of, unboxing them and pulling the sling pots out. And then they have their spiderlings and they rehouse them and they're posting pictures of them, and it's all smiles and just positive comments, and they're excited and extremely happy with their purchase. They got, two or three very live, healthy tarantulas in the mail. Nothing bad to say. Fast forward a week or two, for whatever reason, their spiderling dies. They come home from work one day, it's curled up in a death curl, and it's dead, and they take no personal responsibility for that at all. The first thing they do is, they run to their closet, they grab their torch in one hand, their pitchfork in the other, they get on Facebook, and they start trashing this business, because they're saying they sent me a sick spiderling, or there's something wrong with it and I want a refund, and they're not going to give it to me because they're scam artists and they're terrible people, and they're leaving negative reviews on Facebook and Google and anywhere they can find a place to leave a review, because essentially they want them to send out a replacement spiderling, and they're not doing it because the live arrival guarantee only covered the tarantula for the first 2 hours after you got it, delivered. So it's frustrating. Like, I understand from the keeper side how disappointing it is when, a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of months after you order the spiderling, it ends up dying. But it's just a sad reality that some spiderlings just don't make it. Like, even if you keep them in, optimally, everything is perfect about your care and your husbandry. It could just be a genetic kind of issue that is, you can't see it visually. So no one has any idea that there is a problem. It could just be, something is wrong there. It could be some kind of neurological issue, or, it could just have been like the runt. It's in nature, I would say maybe 10-20% of the eggs in any sack actually survive. Maybe even less than that make it to adulthood. In captivity, that number is way higher. I'd say 80-90% of slings survive. And, at least 50-60% of them survive to adulthood. But there's still that slim majority of spiderlings that just weren't built for life for one reason or another. Maybe their purpose was to just be food for other sack mates or something. I know it's terrible. It's a horrible aspect of nature, but it is a reality. So, not all spiderlings are going to survive to be adults. You can do everything perfectly and still have an unfortunate result, which is part of the reason spiderlings are so cheap. I mean, compared to well-established juveniles or adult tarantulas, which can, be easily a couple $100 or $500-$600 for an adult. So if you don't want to take the risk, don't buy a spiderling. Get a more well-established, like, juvenile species, for instance. Yeah, it's gonna cost 2 to 3 times as much as that spiderling, but you're not going to be running the risk that it's going to just randomly die. It's going to be, a lot easier to take care of. So, if you're really concerned about your spiderling, don't cheap out. Pay the extra money, get the juvenile, or just get an adult. And if you really want to make sure that, it's going to live the longest possible life, then, go for the sexed female. Find somebody that has verified that this tarantula is a female, even if it's just a juvenile, and pay that extra money to get that. And that way, depending on the species, it's going to live as long as that species possibly can. Since, most males live a half or a third of the time that females do. I guess what I'm trying to say is, if your tarantula dies a couple of weeks after you got it, it could just be nature. It could be your mistake, but you can't expect a business, to cover that. There are 1 or 2 businesses out there. I know I should only say, I know that Fear Not Tarantulas is doing this. I don't know if anybody else is doing it yet, but I'm sure they will be soon if they're not. But they're offering a 30-day guarantee on some spiderlings that they sell. And in those situations, from what I don't think I've actually tried it. Maybe I have. I don't remember. But from what I remember, what I think I remember is it's a situation where you buy the spiderling and it's like a complete package deal. So they send you an enclosure for that sling, as well as like the cocoa fiber and cork bark and decorations and pretty much everything you need. And the way that it works is you got to use their enclosure and their substrate, or essentially set it up with everything they gave you. Don't add anything else. Don't exclude anything. But if you set it up just like they tell you to, they'll guarantee that species will live for 30 days. So essentially, if it dies and you were doing everything the way they told you to, they'll send you a replacement. which is it's very cool, especially if like you're getting your first spiderling and you're nervous. I would highly suggest taking advantage of a package deal like that. But I've seen some issues where people did that and then used their own enclosure or set their enclosure up different than the recommended way that the policy their 30-day guarantee policy dictated that it needed to be set up. And when that spiderling died and that person wanted a replacement or a refund or whatever, the business was like, no, because you didn't keep it the way that we told you. So, and it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I'm sure the way they were keeping it was perfectly fine. It was an acceptable way. They did their research. They saw a lot of people setting it up this way. So they wanted to do it that way. And that's fine. You're totally free to do that. But if it violates the terms and conditions of the, live arrival guarantee or 30-day guarantee or whatever, I mean, it's like open up the back of your cell phone or your laptop or something. Like you may know what you're doing. You may have watched some YouTube videos and are sure that and confident that you're gonna, make this repair or clean or whatever it is you're gonna do with your electronics in the right way and not do any damage. But once you break that seal, you violate those terms and conditions, you void the warranty. It doesn't matter if you're an expert or not. The warranty is voided. Like I don't know. That's just the way warranties work. If you break that seal or you do something that it explicitly says not to do, then you're the one that crossed that line and voided that warranty. So it's unreasonable to expect a business to still go ahead and honor it and bend the rules just for you. And I think that's what's frustrating is that a lot of these posts that I'm seeing, they're not saying that even that the policy is wrong. They're just upset because the rules aren't being bent for them because their situation is different because they're special. And if you're one of those people and I'm offending you right now, I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry at all because you're not special. I'm not special. Yes, we're all unique, beautiful snowflakes, but we're just specks on a dirt ball flying through space at thousands of miles an hour in a vast universe filled with, just anything that your mind can imagine and then even more. So I mean, we're just specks of dust on a small rocket dust. We're not special. So I digress. Again, it's frustrating and it's I don't know. It's disconcerting, disheartening. I don't know. I'm trying to come up with as many adjectives as I can to express the disapproval and disappointment that I see because it's essentially hobbyists attacking hobbyists. It's somebody that got their spiderling and something tragic happened and unfortunately died. And the way that they're dealing with that and processing that emotion is attempting to destroy a business and, a small business that's, ran by fellow hobbyists, people that should be your ally and you're trying to destroy them. And it sucks. And I'm sick of seeing it. And I want to just kind of get my opinion out there and some rational thought out there. And hopefully it will stop somebody, or at least giving them a pause to consider what it is they're actually saying and doing. Because, when we're hiding behind a computer and we're typing out these negative reviews and these nasty posts, sometimes we're disconnected. Like if we saw that person, like it was an actual brick and mortar store we were going into and we're visiting because it's in our town, we'd probably be a lot less apt to grab the pitchforks right off the bat because these are people that we're going to be engaging with and seeing at the grocery store and dealing with on a weekly basis. And like if there was a pet shop in my town that was selling tarantulas and a whole bunch of tarantula supplies that I can go to at any time, I'm gonna even if something bad happened, I'm going to talk to them respectfully and try to maintain a positive relationship because I know that if I burn this bridge, there's nowhere else to go. So it's different online because people have that they're hiding behind that screen. They have that anonymity, and they're just really quick to say some terrible, terrible things and not really care about what it actually is doing to another person. And I'm not just talking about emotionally or mentally. I'm talking about financially. People can destroy businesses, especially online businesses, because their reputation and their reviews are like the most important parts of having an online business. And I'm not saying all online businesses are good. Like, don't get me wrong. There's some shady people out there. And I'm actually doing the next podcast is going to be about online scammers in the invert hobby, or it's also in the reptile hobby, the fish hobby, and all mammals. I mean, it's just if it has to do with pets, you got somebody online trying to scam money out of you, and we'll talk about that in next week's podcast. But when we're talking about today, online dealers, there are some bad eggs out there that are trying to ruin it for everybody. They're selling wild caught species. They're doing other, and we talked about it before on the podcast, and just they're walking the lines and stuff like that. So I mean, yes, there are shady people out there. There are bad actors, and that's something that we should look out for. But when we're talking about a tarantula dying a week or two after you bought it and where that blame lies, look at, it's something that's helped me out a lot in life is put yourself in the other person's shoes. Like if you were running a business selling tarantulas and you had a policy that says, I will cover all shipping delays and will make sure I will guarantee that when this tarantula arrives at your house, it's going to be alive. Or when you pick it up from the FedEx hub, it's going to be alive. And you open it up, and it's like, as long as you do that within 2 hours or something like that, like you want to make sure, like if I'm going to put my neck out there and cover any delay or any issue that happens during shipping, you want to make sure that that when it arrives safely. So you want to make sure that the person that bought it is opening that box within an hour or two, preferably immediately. Like as soon as it's available for pickup, they're running down to the hub, they're getting it, they're bringing it home, they're opening it up and checking to make sure everybody arrived alive and well. And if they did, that is the close of that transaction. That transaction is now successfully completed. A responsibility for the livelihood, I guess, the health and life of that species is now solely on the person that bought it. And at least that's how I look at it. I order it, I open up the box, everybody's alive and healthy, then bam, sale is complete, transaction is over. Now it's all on me. And what I think the issue is that there's been a whole lot of people that will receive that tarantula in the mail and they'll go to rehouse it. And maybe they're not very confident in rehousing or something. And the tarantula falls and like hits the table or hits the ground and runs away and hides and they lose it. And now they're upset, and they're like, well, I'll just say that it arrived dead and try to get a free one. Or they're in the process of rehousing and, crazy things happen. You accidentally step on it or you smash it with the lid or you drop the enclosure. I mean, there's all kinds of just accidents that happen. And I think that it's been abused where somebody ends up damaging or killing their tarantula during the rehousing process or, shortly after, or they just don't rehouse it immediately. The tarantula ends up dying and they demand a refund. And that a refund, or a replacement is very expensive, for these businesses because now they got to essentially they're out the money of that. And then they got to send you another one. So now they're out the money of the second one that, could have been a profitable sale. And considering, a tarantula selling for $50, maybe they're making $5 off of it, after all the expenses and everything, for care and all that. I mean, we're not going to get into all that, but the profit margin is slim. So they sold one. Now they're losing that profit. Now they got to send you a replacement. So now they're out shipping if they're going to ship it to you, which a lot of people expect. Like it's dead, so I want you to ship me out a replacement tomorrow. So now they got to pay for that $50 shipping that you paid for last time, and they got to lose the money that they spent on that spiderling and lose the money of the profit they would get from reselling to somebody else. So that gets expensive. So I understand why a business wants to protect itself and say like we want to make sure it gets there alive, but once it's there, it's all on you. So I mean, I don't think that's unreasonable. If I went to a reptile expo, I have the ability to look and see, hey, this tarantula is alive. I'm going to give you cash. I'm going to take possession of it. And I know that, this transaction is over. I've got a live species. And if it dies next week, I can't come back to you and be like, you sold me a dead tarantula, because I wouldn't have bought it if it was dead. If I go to the pet shop, it's the same situation. Ordering online, it's a little more shady. You don't really know what it is you're buying. You don't see what you're buying before it actually sends. So I think it's very cool that they offer that live arrival guarantee. So when you got it, you paid the money up front, it came to you, you check it out, it's alive, everything's cool, But it's disheartening to see so many people, time and time again, get these tarantulas and then leave them in their car for hours, or just leave them in the box, sit on their front porch, or even like bring it inside and just leave it on their coffee table, but don't bother to break the seal and open up the box and pull the sling pots out, and just check to make sure everybody's alive. And then the next day, or that night, or the next day, or a couple days later, are screaming from the rooftops that this business or that business is are terrible people and scam artists because they're not sending me a refund, even though I didn't follow the terms of service or the policy, the live arrival guarantee policy or whatever. So yeah, don't be that person. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, it sucks when tarantulas die. It sucks when spiderlings die. It really sucks when it's your fault because you did something stupid. But you shouldn't try and destroy a business because they're saying no. Because it's been a few days or it's been a few weeks, or I've even seen people complaining because a few months later, their tarantula died. They bought a spiderling. It was alive and healthy. They've been, they sent a positive message. Hey, thank you so much. Everybody arrived safe and happy and healthy. And it was a great experience. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. They leave a positive review on their website or on Google, or, they're blasting them all over Instagram and Facebook, just, this is such a great company. They're such great spiderlings. And then like 3 months later, one of their spiderlings just randomly dies. And they call the business and they're like, hey, my spiderling died. Can you send me can I get a replacement? And they're like, no, you ordered 3 months ago. And then it's, oh, this place is terrible. They're selling diseased tarantulas and they don't care for them. And it's like, dude, you had that for months. Like, anything bad that happened to that spiderling is on you. You're the one that's been solely responsible for feeding it and watering it and making sure it's in an optimal habitat. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, maybe you did everything perfectly and it just happened to die because that's just nature. Not everybody lives to a ripe old age. Some people have issues, and tarantulas are so there's so little research on on tarantulas in general. Especially when we're talking genetics and stuff like that. That it could be some kind of cancer, some kind of neurological disease. I mean, who knows what kind of diseases tarantulas could have that could cause them to not survive past their spiderling stage, or die randomly. The research just isn't in there because for whatever reason there's not money in it, and so we don't know. So it's just a risk that comes with any exotic pet, whether you got scorpions, tarantulas, snakes, or I mean, some of the more popular exotic pets probably have a little bit more researches into different illnesses and ailments and stuff. But when we're talking inverts, it's pretty limited. It's a lot of guesswork and assumption. So you can't, you can, I guess, but you shouldn't be upset because your tarantula died a few months after you purchased it and you're not getting a refund or a replacement from the business. Because, I mean, if the situation was reversed, I seriously doubt you'd be out there offering refunds and replacements in that situation. That point aside, it's just bad for the hobby in general. I guess is what it all. I'm going to wrap it all up with this. I think it's just bad for the hobby in general to go out there bashing these businesses that are selling slings because you're upset, your feelings are hurt because they're not bending the rules that are for everybody. The policies that apply to everyone. They're not bending those or making an exception just for you. And, it's like I said, these businesses, online businesses, no matter what they are, if they're an online business, the reviews and their reputation is what makes and breaks them. If they get a lot of negative reviews, people are going to think twice before buying from them. They're going to go to another business that, has, better reviews. That's where they're going to start. At least that's, what I do. I look at reviews. I just had to get an HVAC guy to come out here and check out my air conditioning unit. And I went on Google and I went and sorted by who had the highest reviews, looked at who had the most reviews and what those reviews were saying, and made my determination that way. So I'm sure people are doing the same thing when they're buying tarantulas online. So think about the ramifications of leaving a negative review. Like, if it was something serious, like you paid for an adult female and, guaranteed it was a female, you get it 6 months later, it molts and it hooks out male, then yeah, I would be upset too. But before I go and leave a nasty review on Google about how they're ripoffs, they're scam artists, I would at least contact them and be like, hey, you sold this to me as a female and it just molted and it's a male. What are we going to do about this? And if they say, get bent, tough luck, then I would leave a negative review. I'd get on Facebook and be like, hey, this business sold me a female. Turns out it's male and they aren't willing to work with me. Screw them, like that. That's what I would do. But I wouldn't do that initially. Like I said, I would reach out to them first. If they turn me down or they promise to do something and then don't do it, At that point, then I would go public with it. People are just way too eager to destroy another person these days. So just bear in mind that the people that are selling these tarantulas are fellow hobbyists. They're mom and pop businesses, and some of them they're barely getting by. They're doing what they love, I guess is the important thing, and they're not getting rich doing it. So before you try to destroy them, just put yourself in their shoes for a few moments. I guess is all I'm asking. I don't know. I guess it's just the way of the world these days. Everybody wants to be treated special. Everybody wants rules bent for them. But there's also issues on the other side. There's people that are trying to take advantage of customers and are doing shady things. So, you got to use your mind, think about things rationally. And, just, I guess what I'm saying is give these businesses the benefit of the doubt before crucifying them. Because the reality is, as much as they need us as customers, we need them as well. If it's great right now, there's so many businesses out there, a lot of different online dealers and websites and people that breed and deal, but only do at shows or sell to these large dealers or, sell to pet shops locally. I mean, the hobby's growing a lot right now, but as I said at the beginning of the podcast, nobody's getting rich doing it. They're making enough money to survive, maybe even have a comfortable living if they're really successful. But they're doing it because that's what they're passionate about. It's what they love. And if we get upset and over little things, or expect these businesses to cover our own mistakes, then, they're going to get burnt out. They're going to get sick of dealing with the complaints. They're going to get sick of dealing with people trying to rip them off and scam them, sick of the negative reviews and just all the drama that goes along with it. And they're going to say, I'm out. I'm not doing this anymore. And the fewer tarantula dealers that are out there, the less competition. So, their prices are going to start going back up, and some species are already pretty high as it is right now, but it's the fact that there are multiple dealers out there trying to, compete with each other. They keep lowering the prices and things get cheaper for us. But the fewer dealers, the fewer people out there are willing to put up with all the bull crap to sell tarantulas, the higher those prices are going to be because they're not going to have anybody trying to undersell them. So, they're going to charge whatever they want to charge, and you're either going to have to pay for it or not. If not many people are paying for it, maybe they'll lower the price down until people start buying it again. But if you only got 2 or 3 dealers, they're pretty much determining the price. They're determining the market. Where if you got 10 or 20 or 30 dealers, then the free market is going to determine the price, I guess is where I'm coming from. And I don't want to breed and sell tarantulas. And I'm sure a lot of you guys out there don't as well, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of frustration. And, not everybody enjoys that aspect of the hobby. But we need people that do. We need people that are willing to breed and import and sell these tarantulas. So we need to give them a break, I guess is what I'm saying, and not just start leaving nasty reviews and posting up all this negative stuff just because our feelings got hurt. Or I say that, but it's probably not even the correct description. Just because we didn't follow the policies or the guidelines, and we're upset because they're not making a special exception for us because we're somebody special. We're in a lot of Facebook groups. We got a lot of followers on Instagram. That's a good thing. But a lot of people are starting to use it as a weapon. I've got 5,000 subscribers on Instagram. If you don't send me a refund or a replacement, I'm going to trash your business. And it's like that's that's blackmail. That's like hostage taking there. That's not cool. That's not how you treat your friends. It's not how you treat colleagues. So yeah. I guess that's one. Just don't be a Karen. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that's offended that I've said tarantula Karen a few times, and more than likely they're a Karen. Either they're named Karen or they are somebody that acts like a Karen. But there are plenty of cool Karens out there. I'm just using it as a euphemism. Is that the right word? For people that love to complain. And it's not gender specific. I know a lot of guys out there that are more of a Karen than females. So yeah, I'm sure there's got to be a less offensive word to use, but I don't know what it is right now. But just a pain in the ass that complains a lot for no reason because they think they deserve special treatment all the time. Don't be that person. Don't destroy the tarantula hobby, or at least the dealers, unless it's completely necessary. I always try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes that backfires. Sometimes that blows up. Sometimes I try to trust somebody, give them the benefit of the doubt, let them, give them the chance, the space to make something right, and then they don't. And then it's like, well, that's egg on my face. But I learned from that. And I know next time, not dealing with you, going somewhere else. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you so much. Be sure to tune in next week. I will definitely have a podcast out because I'm going to record it right after this one, or well, maybe in a few hours, but it's going to get recorded. So there will be a podcast next week. We'll be talking about scammers in the hobby. The people that send you an unsolicited message saying, "Oh, I got this awesome species for sale," and it's like half the price or a third of the price of what everyone else is charging, and it's too good of a deal to pass up. And then they take your money and disappear. So we're going to talk about those people, how to find the red flags, what to do, how to avoid it, and what to do if you got scammed. What maybe some recourse you may have that you're not aware of, but most importantly, how to avoid getting scammed in the first place. Because I think it's something that I've always thought was just common sense, but it's not. Some people are naive. Some people just don't have much experience in I'm not trying to. They're not stupid. They're intelligent people. They just aren't street smart, I guess is a good way. They're too trusting, and they have a hard time passing up a deal that's probably too good to be true. But we'll talk about all that next week. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast, take the time, leave a comment or review, 5-star reviews or whatever it is. I still don't have all that figured out, but if you're listening to this on a platform that gives you the ability to interact and engage and leave a review, please do that. It helps support the podcast a whole lot. Doesn't cost you anything. Helps me out a lot. Helps get this information out to a wider audience. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends. You guys are awesome. I appreciate all your support. And I think that's all I've got today. I will talk to you guys next Thursday. Stay safe.